Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Uh, I don't even know where to begin. I'm a pretty good talker here, and I've been doing this 380, 390 times. And I'm with Kerry Blaser, and we just spent an hour, not an hour, 40 minutes, whatever, just getting acquainted. And the stuff that she's going to talk about is right up my alley because it fascinates me. And talking about being a shaman and her journey and her book, My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain, which I looked at your rankings, are pretty impressive rankings on Amazon. I looked,
Really?
but the things about you and your journey and your experiences and the spiritual side, this is so wonderful. Why? Because I live some of the stuff myself. People know me, I've got an angel hanging around me, a spirit, and my interpretation, different interpretation. But your whole journey, and of course, I spent 5 years writing this book. There's a tortoise in my hair, a journey to spirit, talking about my spiritual evolution. And I'm always quick to tell people I'm just a regular guy. Football, Rutgers basketball. I'm a regular guy, but my antenna is up, and so this I am so thrilled, Kerry, that you're here. That we're going to talk about stuff, your journey, which is so fascinating and so important for all of us. So my monologue is officially concluded, and maybe if you want to do a quick little background and bring us up to date. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So take it away, Kerry.
I was born in Arizona. And then before I turned one, my dad got hired in France and Switzerland. So we moved there for about 4 years. And then we moved to Southern California. I was raised in a town that is now about 15 minutes from where the Bachelor Mansion is now. So you kind of have an idea of the level of affluence. Okay. And we were there for a year, and then my parents got a divorce. And so then I moved in with my mom, my brother, and my dad lived separately. And that's where my mom was modeling to me that I don't need a man in my life every day. And my mom was an alcoholic, and my dad was a workaholic who probably also had multiple women. I'm not, I don't have evidence of that, but based on the men that I attracted into my life, there's the evidence. So my life was really hard, and in high school I got a job at 14 to save money to buy my own car, even though my dad in the 80s was making six figures. um my parents, my dad and my mom would argue about child support in front of me before I was 10, so that kind of internalized that I'm not worthy of being provided for. So here by 10 years old I'd already learned I'm not worthy of being provided for, and I don't need a man in my life every day. Modern woman,
Yeah.
right? But what happens when a woman doesn't need a man and can provide for herself? That puts me in my masculine, and I repress my feminine. And so then I don't value my genuine, authentic self, and I'm just fronting all the time while simultaneously suppressing all of my pain. So, to give you an idea of kind of how I felt about myself and how much I rejected myself from my childhood, there's a statue. It's not called grief, but it's about a grieving parent. And you see the head and the arms, and all the whole center is just hollow, and you can see through it and see the ocean in the background, and then you see the legs. That was me. Like, I had a hard time making friends. I've never had consistent friendships, relationships constantly failing, a lot of time alone. Like, I had a really hard childhood. And then I went off to college and I got an undergraduate degree in Chinese and religious studies. I studied in China in 92. I went back to China and in Tibet in 93. And that's when I met my ex-husband, who's Israeli, whole other thing in my life. And I met the Karmapa, who's like one below the Dalai Lama. He was 7 years old then in Tibet. Then I went and got my master's degree in Chinese and East Asian studies. I got married. I started having kids, and I got a divorce, after I was married for 10 years. But by then I'm 35 and three kids. And like, to give you an example of how much I didn't believe in myself or how much like just challenge I had, my dad would still have dinner with my ex-husband and with my stepmom, and they would talk crap about me. And I knew about it, but I was so exhausted and I had so many other things on my plate. I didn't have the energy for 3 years to tell my dad to stop. Just like kind of a picture of where I was, you know? And then my 40s hit, and that was awful for me. I had like 4 to 7 migraines per week. I was on trazodone and Klonopin and Soma and Ambien, and it was just pain, 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 pain. I couldn't even go outside for 2 years because the sunlight, I was just the migraine would just hit. I had to get purple sunglasses to deal with that sensitivity. Then on my 45th birthday, which was almost exactly 10 years ago, my birthday is June 25th. Um, uh, my mom passed away. And on that day, my intuition told me it's time to accept your psychic gifts and it's time to heal your childhood trauma. Because on that day, I became the matriarch of my family. So it was time for me to, okay, my heart, I'm the center of the whole family. This heart isn't healthy. Let's figure this out. Right. So I started learning how to surf the waves of life. I started to learn how to process my emotions, something that my parents weren't able to teach me because they had so much trauma. I mean, my mom in the 60s was engaged 4 times and then married a man 4 years younger. Highly atypical, the whole thing. My dad's parents got divorced in the 50s, and then my grandma got pregnant with another man's child and they got remarried. And she had so many codependencies with the youngest that she would put on his shoes in high school while he sat in a recliner while she would like bring him his food and everything he needed. Like it was that she had that much challenge and like codependency. It was that bad for her. So then 6 years ago, I have 3 children. I have a boy and 2 girls. My youngest she still had an eating disorder, was in a residential facility. She was 16. And I went to therapy the first time and she blamed me for her eating disorder. And the therapist was like on board with her. And I'm like, hang on a second. Like we're in a dysfunctional family. I don't live in a vacuum. I fought the therapist, her and her dad for an hour about this. And then I'm on the way home, I start to internalize their negativity, start to believe it. Right. And that's how I created a deeper wound inside myself. So when I got home, my brain told me that my children would be better off with a dead mother than a live one. Like, and then I just took all the medications I just refilled, went upstairs, and I went right to sleep. I mean, like, I was on those because I couldn't sleep. I mean, I just let go. I'm like, fuck it. I'm done. I'm done. My older daughter found me the next morning. She was 18, saved my life. And then that's the beginning of the book.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's so you just explained, that was one of the first things I wanted to talk about. You just explained about your childhood, and it's interesting in listening to you, in your bio, your official bio, you put you introduce yourself by putting mother first.
Yes. Yes. It's that important. We're
Yeah.
20 years from population collapse. And, I hated my femininity, but not so much that I didn't have kids. I mean, that's a level of hating femininity that's unprecedented historically. That women just have no desire to use their bodies, their wombs, and have kids. Like, I hate myself so much. I don't want to recreate myself. Like, people aren't like internalizing like that, but all my enlightenments are about how I don't value my own femininity and how as a society and a culture, we don't value femininity. So I experienced enlightenment like 10 times last year. And I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. So, and no one ever told me that enlightenment is an emotion that's part of everyone's healthy emotional range. But now that physicists have proven that we all have energy bodies and that they measure the different frequencies that our energy bodies emit and vibrate at. So, based on the laws of physics, the higher an energy vibrates, the more powerful and transformative it is. So shame, guilt, fear, lust, all below 100 hertz. You start to hit like love is 200 hertz, compassion is 400 hertz, enlightenment is 700 to 1,000 hertz. So these higher vibrating emotions will always be more powerful than the lower vibrating emotions. So eventually we will get out of our wounds, out of the self-hate that we're in, because that's how the laws of physics work.
Okay. Um, it was pretty brave of you. Listen, I'm a writer and
Mm.
3 books, and pretty brave of you to share your emotional pain uh, in this, which you've done. Um, why did you want to share your emotional pain like that?
Wow, that's an excellent question. So I say first and foremost, I wrote the book for me. It was part of my healing. So I had rules. My first rule is I can just let it out. The draft is, just get it out. Then in terms of the final product, one, I can only speak for myself. And two, I will not disparage any of these men. Okay. So I'm not here to critique Andrew Tate and Justin and the fire department. That's not my role. Not my role. My role is to help them connect to their soul, to their heart, to their pain, to their wisdom, and download more wisdom and let go of more pain. That is my role. So
You
yeah.
call these men heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so why are they my heroes? Okay. So physicists have proven that we all have energy bodies or souls, and our souls communicate through emotions. And our emotions come out through our heart. So the nervous system around our heart is far more complex than our brain. Our heart sends way more signals to our brain than the other way around. And the electromagnetic field around our heart is 5,000 times stronger. And physicists have also proven that all of our energy bodies are connected through our hearts. That's why the energy field is so strong, because that's how we're communicating with each other. That explains psychic gifts. That explains knowings. It explains animals knowing when their humans are coming home, right? It explains so much stuff. So, oh, I'm sorry. Wait, can we back on top of the question that you had me to? Like, it's gone
Well,
off track.
why do you call them men?
Oh,
Why
here,
are these men
right.
heroes for you?
Okay. So what happens is, so how does this function? Like, how did they help me? I focused on how they helped me because I didn't speak for them and I'm not going to criticize them. Okay. That's not my job. So when our soul, so we're all communicating. Why are we communicating? Because our souls are planning our lives based on our wounds so that we have opportunities for self-improvement. We have opportunities to see ourselves, right? And what's our best mirror to see ourselves is our opposite. We know what tall is because we know what short is. We know what beautiful is because we know what ugly is. We know what alive is because we know what dead is, right? So these men, I'm a woman, they are my opposite. So they're the best person to trigger my wounds to the surface. How does triggering work? Because triggers are our healing friend and not our healing foe. And here's how that works. So there's two energy bodies, right? And if you see physics experiments with like a metal prong tuned to 400 hertz. And they have a metal prong tuned to 500 hertz. When the 500 hertz moves, the 400 hertz doesn't even notice. There is no resonance. Nothing is happening. Okay. But if you have 400 hertz and 400 hertz, when this 400 hertz moves, this one moves. Okay. So I have a wound in me, and someone in my life is moving at the same hertz as my wound, then my wound is going to come to the surface. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So what happens is that the soul puts the energy out through the heart onto the quantum field, and the quantum field picks up on where you resonate, and that's what pulls your focus. Like your focus is pulled to 444. So you'll see that more because that means something to you, where I just wouldn't even notice it. Like you could see a movie with your friend and they get one lesson, totally valid, and you get a whole other lesson, totally valid, based on the constitution of your soul. So why the wounds? Like why wounds to wisdom? Why, how does this work? Like why do we need all this? Right? Because like why did I need to attempt suicide? Why did my guy from high school, who's like ASB president for multiple sport varsity letterman, who now has been like FBI assistant special agent in charge, head of global security at a major company, couldn't stop staring at me, totally want to talk to me, but I was like no, 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 because I had my fear. So I was the rock, the no, and he was in his emotions. So I was in the masculine because I'm protecting myself. So I attracted, based on my wounds, a man who's in his feminine based on his wounds. Okay.
Wow.
So Yeah. But here's the other physics experiment that I think of daily. Okay. So there's two identical balls and there's two tracks. One is slightly downhill and one has hills and valleys. And the tracks are the same distance, but the hills and valleys are technically longer. Which ball reaches the finish line first?
Well, I would think the flat, and you're going to tell me opposite. Of
Right.
course.
It's the hills and valleys because the momentum and propulsion
Oh, it picks up energy and it
down.
goes
Right.
faster. Ah,
Right. So the more hills, the deeper the valley, the faster you go. So that means you can so when you
oh,
learn to surf the waves of life, surf your emotions, then you can go deeper into your pain, unearth more self-belief, and get a more profound epiphany. Like
I
that is
see.
the spiritual. Let's bring that into the physical as like an analogy. Like, what does someone have to do to climb Mount Everest? And
Well,
I'll equate that with enlightenment,
well,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you want to get to the top and have that view and that perspective and that kind of insight, then oh, you're gonna pay. Oh, yeah, you want that? Oh, saddle up, get ready, because you're gonna almost die trying. And that's before you even get to the mountain, right? But the same thing with enlightenment. Enlightenment is an emotion. And we're here to expand our consciousness, expand our emotional range, expand our capacity for wisdom. So we say, I want to vibrate higher. What does that mean? That person has transformed more wounds into wisdom than the average person. And the more wisdom you have, the more influential you are over other souls. Like, here's an example, and that's called morphic resonance in quantum physics. So men wanted to run the mile in under 4 minutes for a long time, and they tried for a long time. And then one guy did it. So he downloaded the wisdom, he figured it out, he brought it into his soul, put it out his body. And then in the next year, 500 men did it. So that's how we help each other, but that's how change is an inside job. Okay. So when I change more wounds to wisdom, I vibrate higher, I download more wisdom. I'm just naturally sharing that with the collective and putting that out of my heart because we're all in this together. So what does it mean to have a soul having a human experience is that we had to create the negative emotions so we understand what we're calling the positive emotions. Without a body, it's all light and love, right? But if it's all light and love, you don't know what light and love is because you don't know what light and love isn't. So that's why you've got to have those negative emotions. And then in order to get you back up here, you need the hills and valleys, and I got there's a video I have in the book that shows first two hills and it goes kind of slow and three hills a little faster and then four hills even faster. I was like, oh, okay. I got
Wow.
hills and valleys every day. This is why.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So fascinating. Wow. Um, in my readings, you call yourself, first of all, you're a shaman, and I was reading up on that, and I've heard the term a million times. And why don't you tell people what a shaman is? I know you're kind of a go-between. And then the second part of my question, you call yourself a red pill
Red Shaman.
shaman. Yeah.
So I call myself a shaman so people understand that I'm cognizant of soul to soul communication. That's what it means to be psychic. Like you get information about their soul. Now, technically, the information in my soul is the same in every soul. Like every soul is, a microcosm of the universe. So there's no secrets. Like my whole life, technically anyone can access. But that if it's not necessary for you to access, then you don't have access. The only reason you would have access is so you can see yourself. So the shaman, because so technically everyone's a shaman, is just have you brought those gifts out of your soul yet? Have you downloaded that wisdom? Have you, gone through enough of the valley of darkness to get yourself to the next mountaintop so you have a brand new, higher, more expansive perspective? So that's what I say, the shaman, that's what I do is I read the energy, I can pick up on things other people can't. I put pieces together and I can see connections between things that other people don't. And that's why and my soul is powerful, so I can pull things to me. And so, here's an example. So red pill shaman, why did I call myself red pill shaman? In June of 2022. So there's 6 heroes in the book. In April of 2019, I attempted suicide. In October of 2019, I started yoga. And the first night I met my first hero, but we had a short conversation and then I started talking to him a year later. And he's Jewish, speaks Hebrew. Okay. So, we spoke in Hebrew a little during our first conversation, but, so that started in December of 2020. And at that point, I didn't even know every time I was being psychic. One time I asked him, what's the name of your business? And it landed in my head. And I'm like, and I just said it as if we both heard it. And he just, and I'm like, oh, that like was awake. That was my soul showing me myself. No, sweetheart, that's you. You heard that. He didn't say that. Oh, okay. Because then a year and a half later, I'm helping Andrew Tate. Like my trajectory was just, steep, but because I could do it, all those hills and valleys over multiple lifetimes, I've been preparing for this. So in June of 2022, my Tim in the book, who's the first guy, he had left that yoga studio, and I'm like kind of struggling and figuring my life out, and had questions about male sexuality because all these men have multiple women, right? They're in a lineup with Andrew Tate. That's obvious as day, right? So my intuition, I saw Justin on the Fresh and Fit podcast, which is kind of like the red hot center of Red Pill, one man, multiple women. And the second time I saw him, my intuition said, well, ask him your question. I'm like, okay. So I DM him, and he got back to me under a minute with a voice memo. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm in business, it worked, right? And then we DM some over the next 2 months, and I'm slowly opening his heart, but I didn't know what was coming because I didn't even know about Andrew Tate then. I mean, I was like 52. Like, what did I care about Andrew Tate? Like, I had my own problems. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, whatever. But he's Justin's best friend. So then it started to come into my awareness. So when Andrew got canceled in August, after that, I reached out to Justin, and I gave some emotional support, and he got right back to me. And then I started DMing him more, and then he opened his heart to me that night. And so I was able to see into his heart because that's feminine work. And I quote a Cherokee proverb in the book. It says, a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul so he can unite with source. A man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. Okay, so this is what I was learning. I didn't have access to my femininity, and I'd repressed myself. And a woman is in charge of like self-love, is the intimacy. How do you treat yourself? And that's what mothers teach children, compassion and nurturing and forgiveness and love and connection, right? So teaching them how to treat themselves. And then the father teaches kids how to treat other people, starting with the mom. So he does the outside, she does the inside. But with women at work, this isn't happening, right? So then I opened up Justin's heart, and I could see he had some, he needed some work, and like everybody does. Everybody needs work. And then I woke up in the morning, and Andrew's soul was hanging out. I'm like, well, okay, well, so then he has pain. And then so I know that when I connect to one person, then I can access their friends through their heart because we're all connected through the heart, right? And started showing me questions to ask Andrew, to help Andrew process his pain, because the reason he was there is because they had a codependency. They had similar trauma as children, and that's one reason they were, connected so closely. And so in order to help Justin balance his heart, I had to help Andrew. I had to kind of get Andrew off of Justin's heart, so to speak. And so the next day I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be in person. You want me to ask Andrew Tate, why was it necessary for him personally to stomp around the globe screaming, I'm a man? Like, I'm asking you, so you've met Andrew Tate, right? Like, you understand this guy, like, and you want me to, in person, like, is he going to be locked up? Are there going to be security guards? Like, I'm freaking out. So, but the next day I did it from home, and I just talked to his soul. And within 2 minutes of me asking some super direct questions, he just sat down and said, I'll just tell you, he's a man, he's a competitor, and so out of respect, out of good sportsmanship, okay, she won, I'm done, I'll tell her, done. And I appreciate that about him. He's 4-time UFC world champion. The man's a competitor. So, a lot of emotional pain came out of his root chakra because, he's helping me with my paternal wounds, and I'm helping him with his maternal wounds. And I sent it to the light. And so after that, and then I also was set up to help him, support him when he was in, solitary confinement. I spent about 6 weeks DMing Justin, giving him feedback, and then there was a fight, and it got cut off, and then there was a first firefighter. So that's because of their involvement. And also, red pill means reality. And also, I mean, this just came through recently. So the movie The Matrix, I mentioned it in the book. Red pill, that's where they get it from. Let's all take the red pill from The Matrix. Neo, right? Neo has to find self-belief so that he understands what can kill him and what can't. Okay.
Okay.
But he has to find self-belief inside himself. Who teaches that? Who's an expert at self-reflection, at connecting someone to their soul? That's feminine work. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So if you can,
it
you
would have
can,
been like, hang on, I'll keep going. So it would have been appropriate to show that Trinity had helped him heal his emotional wounds because she was so healed. So she's like the connection to source, and her femininity fueling his masculinity, and he goes and orchestrates that. But that was never shown, right? It's shown that there's a man that's a savior like Jesus. Okay. And I can get into that, if you want. But so it makes sense based on what is feminine work. It's the connection with self, which is what he needed to work on. That Neo would be a woman, red pill shaman.
mhm.
You see, and that only came out recently. Like, so, we're all learning, and I'm not criticizing the Matrix. I'm just pointing something out because the Matrix is very useful and very helpful for us all to understand a lot of these concepts. But yeah, Neo should be a woman. And it's like, and then you get to Buddhists, I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, and they never taught me that enlightenment's an emotion. I'm like, okay, so all these men are leaving the women, and the woman's in charge of the emotional work, and they're going off and achieving an emotion because they know how to do emotional work with no women. I'm like, that's not logical. That's not how it works. And they're denying the dual nature of reality. Basically, like, well, I don't need the woman. I'm going to go do my own work. I'm like, where are the hills and valleys? And granted, sure, but you're sitting there, just writing scripture and,
Okay.
do you want me to get into the whole Mary thing right now?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that right here, and we'll get that. Actually, just to go off topic a
Yeah.
moment, completely off topic. I borrowed these questions from one of my favorite journalists. So completely. So here
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with, excluding
Oh,
family or friends. Somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
I keep hearing Noam Chomsky. We have a lot we could learn from each other.
Okay.
Noam Chomsky.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant man. Great answer. Great answer. Uh, also, do you have some favorite movies?
So this applies. My favorite movie in high school was Uncommon Valor. And in doing some research and stuff, I came upon that in biblical Hebrew, they translate it into English as humble woman, but that diminishes the woman's kind of fierce femininity. And so they're saying that really should be woman of valor. And I see myself as a woman of valor. I've helped, then I had two fire academy instructors I helped that all took me back to my guy from high school, and so I've kind of, I've been very courageous and very vulnerable, and I'm extremely open in the book and admit all of my problems and all the places where I need to grow and heal. And that's the only way I'm going to grow and heal is if I admit it to myself. Oh, that was mine. Oh, I need to grow here. Oh, I can grow there. And that's the only way to get more wisdom. Otherwise, I'm just busy being right. And that doesn't help me get more wisdom, it just keeps me stuck.
Okay. Okay. Um, two-pronged. How do psychology and shamanism align?
Mm,
How is the universe a mirror?
mm. Yeah, okay. So psychology and shamanism align in a lot of ways. And I go into the book to show how psychology would talk about codependencies. And in shamanism, we talk about parts of ourselves, we reject parts of ourselves. Like I was that grief statue, like my whole heart, it was just like gone, like nothing to connect with. And then we recall those parts of ourselves. And when we reject them, basically we suppress them into what we call our shadow, our subconscious. it has wounds in there and the parts of our soul that we haven't accessed, like all of our shamanic gifts, all of our ability to levitate and do far, far, far more is all in there, you know? So I keep losing my train of thought. So where did you want me to go? You wanted that question and then.
And well, how is the universe a mirror? That's the
Oh,
next.
how do you pair? Right. So well, we talked earlier about how when like if someone has selfishness and then you also have selfishness, when they're showing their selfishness, it will show it inside of you. Like that's what triggers you. That's how the universe is a mirror, and we have mirror neurons for us to see this, and that's how we learn. Like how does like my older daughter. My older daughter was always mommy too. So if I'm there taking care of the infant, she's right there next to me, helping me because she's a girl and I'm her mom. So she should mirror me. And this is the whole point. This is how kids learn how to be who they are. So saying, oh, they need to figure it out is like abandoning the child. Oh, well, I don't know what gender you are. You just figure it out. What? They're here to model us, learn from us. Like kids don't even know how to regulate their own nervous systems until they're 7 years old. And we're just leaving it up to them to figure out if they're a boy or a girl and maybe cut off their genitals. I mean, that's Armageddon. Like I've never even friggin' heard. Like, what the hell? So
Yeah. Okay. Um, what processes do you use to transform emotional wounds into personal wisdom? Is there a
yeah.
process?
Yeah, so I noticed, so you see in the book, I talk about appreciate, learn, forgive, love hierarchy, how the world, how, you know, life is kind of like a video game. So I use these concepts. Oh, I didn't talk about shamanism psychology more. Let me get back to that. Just I'll get
Okay.
to this. But
Okay.
shaman psychology, I use a lot of Carl Jung quotes, and he really helped me understand enlightenment. You know, he said, one does not become enlightened by imagining beings of light, but by making the darkness conscious, the hills and valleys. And the imagining beings of light is a slightly downhill track. It's like the communism. Well, I just wish everything was perfect on the outside, and then my inside would be, all this pain, it would just go away. But that's not how it works. Because the universe is a mirror, because you incarnate as a soul, having a human experience to see and experience yourself. So how you're experiencing reality is because of your internal world. So your internal world gets projected externally, and then that's how you experience it and see it so you can change yourself. So like Andrew Tate's a perfect example in solitary confinement, and I talked to his soul about this. I was like, okay, Andrew, so you know that your external reality is a reflection of your internal reality and how you feel about yourself. And his soul said, yeah. I'm like, okay, so from that perspective, why are you in solitary confinement? That is how he felt about himself. And the universe mirrored that back to him by, all the souls conspiring that had to place him, place in solitary confinement. And then why did I resonate with a man in solitary confinement? Because if I have no heart, like all of this just gone, emotionally just gone. I'm just so isolated internally that there's no one to connect with. So Carl Jung again, I mean, to summarize him, he said, one does not experience loneliness because they have no one about them, but because they have no one to communicate what's important to them. My parents wouldn't listen to me. Shut up, Kerry. Be quiet, Kerry. Okay, reject, reject, reject. And then there was just nothing left. So that is really how the universe is a mirror, and how I use psychology and shamanism. And I say not all psychology. I say a lot of psychology today is social justice warriors, and a lot of feminists thinking they know what they don't know and projecting a lot of their own crap on everybody else, and women telling men how to be men. Are you just no, like be quiet. Men need to figure out how to be men. And as a woman, I've never been a man, so I don't know. Oh, men just need to talk and process their emotions. No, you are projecting that onto the quantum field and not taking accountability for your own problems. And now you're blaming men for it. I mean, this is like, so something in the book that like, this is like a message I really want to get out, because women aren't doing it because they're cognizant of it, but they got to learn this. And psychologists are doing this all day long. Like if psychologists haven't healed, they're going to attract people into their office so that they can heal because of their wounds, because your soul doesn't care that you're a psychologist. It's not like, oh, now my wounds are gone, that I'm in therapy. No, life is life. Life is life at home. Soul works the same way. The business dealings, the same thing. So it's not like what I'm saying only applies to your personal life. How we attract people into our life and who we focus on and who we perceive is all based on who we resonate with because of our wounds and because of our wisdom. So I think, psychology has a lot of work to do on that front, from what I've been, with my son has mild autism. I've been in therapy, my ex-husband from Israel. You can imagine the therapy around us, a
Oof.
lot of therapy
Oof.
around us. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. Um,
Oh, so there's one thing I want to share in the book about women, and because I struggled with this, and this is like a really important point, and this comes from Tim, who's Jewish, right? Okay. So he had a special relationship with one of the yoga instructors, and she would kind of joke sexually all the time to kind of flaunt her side hustle as a dominatrix. Okay. So I was flirting with him before class and on our mats, and it was her class, and she starts stomping around his mat dominatrix style. And he lays down and starts like acting like she's hitting him with an invisible whip. And I'm like, he messed up. Like, I can't be that messed up. There's no way I am that messed up. Like, you know what? I'm going to be super compassionate and I'm going to help him because he's so messed up. And then, when he's better, then, we'll have a great relationship.
okay.
That is the biggest lie to myself. Like, I can't. Now I can't. Like, just accepting that we attract romantic relationships into our lives because we have an equal amount of wounds, not because the woman is so great and the man is so wounded and we're so great because we're helping them. No, he was showing me myself equally to how I was showing him himself. And that took me a couple years to accept. And so women need to like reel it in. This whole feminism, do what you want, men are still going to provide and protect while we do whatever we want. This entitled behavior is women need to take accountability for that.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is wow. Why do you think your soul was chosen to help men in the red pill community?
That gets me into the Mary conversation. Is it okay if I go there?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So our souls, do work over multiple lifetimes. Like my oldest daughter, she always comes in with me. Like we're always together. And here's an example. So she used to work at a jewelry store that made jewelry out of sea glass. And then they would put in the ring in the jewelry where they found the sea glass. So I saw like they had a special thing for rings, and one was like orange, like bright orange. I told him like, we need that ring. That ring that connects us. We need that ring. And so she grabbed it, and I'm like on the way home, like, yeah, that's like we were like in France, 1800s or something. And I didn't look at the ring. I didn't. And she's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I'm going to go see this shaman who's really good at this. I'm going to ask her about it. And I just told her, like, yeah, we got a ring. And I didn't tell her anything. She's like, oh, yeah, 18th century France. And the reason that it's so bright, that the color is so bright, is because it came from Egypt. And they put gold in with the jar. And that was one of your healing jars. So I go home, I turn over the ring. Where do you think the glass was from?
Egypt,
France.
France.
From France, because we were in France. Yeah. Okay. So we were from France. That's how connected Yael and I are. Okay. So
Wow.
I'm one woman with a lot of men around me, a lot of men around me. And my guy from my childhood, my birthday is June 25th. Direct opposite of that would be December 25th.
Right.
I'm a Cancer. So that makes me like, cardinal water sign. That's divine feminine. That would make, December 25th, Capricorn, divine masculine, the cardinal earth sign, right? Direct opposites. My guy from the initials, because he hasn't given me permission to release his name publicly, from high school are JC. I'm one woman with a lot of men around me.
Wow.
And there's more synchronicities too. So I only remembered, I call him Jared in the book, Jared's last name in the fall, in November and December. In November when I looked him up. But the past 4 years, I've been hearing my intuition. You're on the Jesus Council, like over and over. I'm like, okay, what? Okay, fine, but Jesus isn't here and I'm home alone. So how does that impact me? You know what I mean? Like, thanks for notifying me, but again, I had to make the point. Also, and we went to high school in the 80s. So also kept hearing we're on a mission from God. Mission from God, like the Blues Brothers, I heard. Mission from God, like the Blues Brothers. And so I watched, I'm like, oh, okay. And he would always wear Ray-Bans. And then he would organize toga parties, right? Toga's like Jesus. And that's also like Jim Belushi in Animal House, right? And there's like a lot of other synchronicities I won't get into today. And I got no proof, but I experienced enlightenment many times, and I didn't know that there was a gospel of Mary. Like, I never even looked into that. Like, I went east in religious studies. I didn't go west. So over the past week, I've like things have appeared on YouTube, and this is how my soul like will show me things at the right time because my soul is planning everything. Like when I was talking to Justin, only after he opened to me about his mom, and then his mom's video started showing up because she has a YouTube channel criticizing him, giving out her phone number so people can call her and criticize him more publicly because she's such a great mom. So we wonder why he has a maternal wound. She's still stoking that wound, but their souls agreed to that. Okay, so I would say I am a woman. And so there's that perspective that our souls have been doing work together in multiple lifetimes, possibility. I don't know. I don't have proof. But also I was a woman with wounds like a fear of men, fear of being sexually assaulted, and I had a wound that I'm replaceable. Okay. So, all of those are wounds that would attract men like that into my life. So like the I'm replaceable wound. So there was two fire academy instructors, and the second one's a fire captain. So I always call him the fire captain. So the fire captain, his soul showed me that I had a wound that I'm replaceable and that I am just not replaceable. But that's one reason to explain why I attract men in with multiple women, because that's showing me that I had a wound that I'm replaceable. Now, a fear of men annotate that's, and these, explains itself. Fear of being sexually assaulted, these guys, likely have sex addictions. So, and then when a man does it, when a man has emotional wounds, he loses physical control. And when a woman has wounds, she loses emotional control, which triggers a man's lack of physical control. So it's a joint dynamic abuses. It's not like it just comes, one way. So there's a lot of reasons why, but I'm also, you mentioned I'm a mother, and I put that first on my website for a reason. I mean, it used to be that if the mother had to come out and handle a problem in society, back up, back up. Because I got one chance at this, right? It's so bad. Mom has to show up publicly, and mom does, because all these men in red pill saying that, oh, one man, multiple women, that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's just the way it's always been. Well, let's look into like why that probably was. Okay. Today, we don't understand what our emotional range is. So if we don't even know what our emotional range is, we're pretty immature. And we're not acting from our highest selves because we're still figuring out that we're souls having a human experience. We're still haven't even accepted that in mass. So we got a lot of work to do. So because we don't understand ourselves and we project our pain on others and then blame them for it and punish and kill them for it, a lot of men died. So if we wanted to, continue the population, you got to have more women giving birth. And now with genetics, they can see, on average, like how many women historically gave birth and how many men, right? So it's 90% of women gave birth historically, only 40% of men. Now, when when the masculine soul isn't with the feminine soul that created him because they're a pair, they have wounds. And so they seek out other souls to kind of see themselves and have those wounds. So when one man has to have multiple women, that's not healthy for him. Because, casual sex, we know it's bad for women. But if it's bad for women, it's also bad for men for multiple reasons. Now, physically, maybe it won't hurt them as much as it hurts women physically, but that's temporary. We're not looking at like all the downstream ramifications. Okay, so it's not like, the man is doing a great thing in service to society by treating women as options that, you're not even important enough to me to commit to. And if you had a kid, maybe I'll see it once in a while. Maybe I'll throw you some cash. That's not a woman who values herself, because why would you pick that? So I think that we're working our way out of all these codependencies. And why now? So it used to be that we sought others for healing, like people go to God and, Jesus died for my sins. I don't think Jesus died for our sins, and I'll tell you why. Okay. And I don't think Jesus was, I think Jesus was protecting Mary, and I'll also tell you why on that one too. So we went to other people, like, okay, I have pain, you fix it, because I just don't know. You're better than me, fix it. But that's not how it works. We have to look inside. Like, change is an inside job. We're here to see ourselves and understand ourselves, not for someone else to see us. If I don't see myself, I'm not going to change. So all of that happened, right? And then we all know, like, in 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar, and people wondered, what did that mean? What did that mean, right? Well, it was the end of a time cycle. And one of the things it was ending is the time that you go to other people for healing. And it started the self-healing time. And then what we saw after 2012 was an explosion of medicine journeys, ayahuasca, psilocybin, all of this stuff, shamanism, spirituality, self-help, psychology, therapy. What you also saw was a deep dive into our wounds, trans kids, queer theory, breakdown of the family. You also have the social media explosion, destroyed women and their need for constant attention and, like, treating men poorly. But it's always the darkest before the dawn, because if everyone wants to get to enlightenment as a collective, as all the souls, we needed all that pain to catapult us as a collective of souls to the next mountaintop. So that's why I think, all that happened. And then getting back to, like, Mary and Jesus. So because we can't, like, I can't solve your wounds. I can mirror your wounds to you, but only if you internalize the positivity that I'm mirroring to you. If that's your soul's plan, will you actually change? There's no, like, person out there like, oh, I have no control and it's somebody outside me. That's living in fear. That's believing that these lower emotions, the fear, the anxiety, the lust, is the real you, when it's not. The real us is the love and the compassion and the enlightenment. That's us without the physical body. So when I say, well, Jesus died for our sins, that doesn't work energetically. That's not how our souls operate energetically. But we needed another 2,000 years and all the physics to show this, because at that time, it was external controls controlling the population, lots of wars, lots of kingdoms, lots of, all of that. It was a whole different time. Additionally, if we look at, like, the feminine role, the feminine role is to connect men to their souls so they can unite with source. The feminine is source energy, and men are once removed. That's why women are the emotional center. And men take on more risk, but they're also more neurologically fragile, which is why more male infants die than female infants die. You'll see this, in multiple ways. So I think, that she channeled the wisdom, and then she shared it with him, and then he pushed it out. But at that time, men were busy, being better than women, and so that would have gotten her killed. So then, oh no, it's me. And then he's leading the apostles, but she really understands the wisdom, and that's everywhere, that she understood it the best. Well, why does she understand it the best? She's the one channeling it, because that's her job, that's her role, but we don't acknowledge that. So what happened now? If I am the same soul, which, I got no proof. I helped all these men. I wrote this whole book explaining all of this, how reality is created, and it's basically showing that we don't need religion. We need to trust ourselves. Like, our souls, like, their soul logic, hurt people. You don't need a religion to tell you that. It's in your heart. And, like, the religious studies program wanted me to go learn from nuns and learn the wisdom from their hearts, which I was told. No one told me I had the same wisdom in my own heart. But there's the control with the church and the religion, and I had to understand all of that. So that's just basically what I've seen over the past week. It's like, I think Jesus was protecting Mary, because she went on, she lived, she had a kid, she was pregnant, and she was there with him, because, and that's what men are here to do, is to protect us. And in saying that, oh, well, no, he died for us, is like, she's unimportant, and he would only have done that for everybody. He wouldn't have done that for a woman. But how are we living life? That men were dying in war and women were safe at home. So he was acting like a man, but they were criticizing him for it. It's like, you see, like the mental fuckery is just profound there about, you know, what was really going on. And I just started to like read the book of Mary, the Gospel of Mary, and I didn't even, you know, early Christians, I didn't know. This is all what they taught, that you don't need the church. Like, it was only in, so in 1969, the Pope finally removed the word prostitute from Mary Magdalene, because in the 6th century, the Pope gave it to her. And then in 2016, Pope Francis finally said, well, she was the lead apostle and Jesus was the teacher. It's like, you know, she created the opening, she opened her heart, she created the channel, and then he orchestrates that. And that's where all of my wisdom comes through in the book. So in my first enlightenment experience, I was like, so it was 3 days. And then beginning the second day, I heard enlightenment, enlightenment, enlightenment. I'm like, okay, I'm vibrating really high. Oh my gosh, what's going on? You know, what's going on? And then I asked the universe, like, what do I need to see? Like, what do I need to heal? And first I was shown that, okay, all like first responders are just met the whole mental health crisis. Like, well, they're messed up. What about the family? Oh, that's messed up too. A relation, oh, messed up. Like, okay, take me back to the beginning. There was God, and then what happened next? Because, like, you know, we are not having children like that. I don't know how to say it more like to make my point. We're not having children. Um, and so it was shown. I'm like, okay, so God, I'm like, there's the problem. We give God credit for creation when creation is feminine. So then we see, so then that goes into all of society, like man's head of the household, one man, multiple women, you know, which is bad for him and bad for the women. Um, but let's say that we make God dual, then God reflects the dual nature of reality, you know, when we're here on earth. And that there's a woman and a man, and she's the center, and then he provides and protects. He goes out and comes back, right? Which is another kind of criticism of red pill, because if the woman's the emotional center and he's the orbiter with provisioning and protection, how could he orbit around multiple centers? Laws of physics don't support that. When he makes himself the center and then women are orbiting around him, then he's the feminine and they're the masculine. Again, proof that one man, multiple women is out of balance. So yeah, I just, this whole not valuing the feminine, but you know, women didn't have a voice yet. You know, it wasn't time yet. And women get really upset. Well, men and all these wars, and they created, okay. Well, so you're saying those men were out of emotional balance, right? Well, yeah. Okay, well, who's responsible for that? Oh, the women. Because the women hadn't had it gotten all figured out yet. Oh, and so then the men hadn't figured it all out yet. And we're just not there yet. And so that's what I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, two more questions. These are off topic.
Yeah.
Or two more questions. Um, I like this because I've been dwelling in the world of AI quite a bit.
Mm,
So, in your opinion,
mm.
how is AI going to help us look into our souls? How is AI going to help enlightenment? How is AI going to help us talk to Jesus? To talk to Mary? How is AI going
To talk
to
to
help?
souls. So, you know, I don't know if AI will talk to souls like that. I don't know. But what does it do is it's a mirror. It's a huge mirror. It's a mirror to our arrogance, that we would think that, okay, in this one lifetime, I'm going to figure out more than what the universe can figure out. Because our souls are a microcosm of the macrocosm, which is the universe. So when I say like my soul has a plan, because my soul plans my life, it knows everything in the universe and then decides what my life is. So for us to think, oh, we invented AI and then now we're going to take over, like I'm mean, like trans people. Oh, well, biology didn't know. We know better. I mean, that's a level of arrogance, like, you know, doing brain transplants. I mean, maybe they'll figure that out one day. I don't know. But why, like, that's where our energy is. And maybe that'll lead to, you know, some great findings. I don't know. But it's all to show us, to humble us, that we're souls having a human experience and what that means. And you know, we're just beginning to understand what that means. There's so much more to explore.
Nicely said. Last
Yeah.
thing, last thing to ask you, because we could go on for hours here.
Yeah.
There's lots of There's lots of things that I've experienced that I wanted to throw at you, but that we can save for another time. So, my last question to you, Kerry,
Yeah.
is fill in the missing blank here. Before I leave this earth, I won't be happy until I blank.
Oh,
You like that?
until I get to have dinner with Jared and his kids and my kids.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
So, uh, we've finished. Maybe this is segment one, and
Okay.
we need to come back and talk more and talk about stuff, and maybe weave in some of the things that I talked to you about and some of
Yeah.
my particulates of my journey, which is why I was so uh, innervated to sit down with you like this and experience you and your journey because I'm just in the learning mode and experiencing mode. But you're the real deal. I mean, anybody who's been to Tibet is the real deal.
You're the real deal too. You just don't give yourself credit for it, which is what we've talked about earlier.
Yes, we
You've
did.
had an amazing life and you keep, oh, but I don't know. And it's this, it's you. Your soul is that special that it can do all those things to show you how incredible you are. And that's true of everybody. No one is replaceable and everyone's special in
Right.
their own way, and we all come here to celebrate that. And we all come here to hold space for our wounds. Like someone who commits murder, they're wounded. Someone who commits rape, they're wounded. And as souls, we hold, I'm not saying they shouldn't go to jail. I'm not, please don't, imply any of that. But as a soul, okay, we're gonna, if you need to murder someone for whatever reason, and I need to die to learn my lessons, and then the people around me learn their lessons, and then the souls orchestrate that. So I don't want people to think that souls are only orchestrating like, oh, I made love in my soul. Oh, but my soul didn't orchestrate it when that guy broke up with me that or the guy hit me. No, all of it, every single thing. That was hard pill to accept too. My soul did all that to me, like all that. Oh, yeah, all that. Yeah, yeah. The suicide attempt. Yeah, that too. Shoot. Okay.
Yeah, I know all about that. So, Uh, formally, I'm inviting you to come back. We can talk about more. We can maybe want to talk about some paranormal stuff, which I've done some investigations. We can weave that into another conversation. But thank you. By the way,
Thank,
thank you for being patient last week when we both had some computer problems and stuff, and have a new computer and blah blah. So thank you so much for being
thank
here
you
and
for
for
your
the
time.
enlightenment.
Oh,
And
I
I'm going to
appreciate it.
stop recording. Don't leave. We'll do a 2 minute
Okay.
rest. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.